today we are going to be talking about solving multi-step equations. For our introduction, we're going to look at two vocabulary words. The first one is null set, and a null set just simply means that there is no solution to the equation. The second one is called identity, and that means that every number is a solution. Or sometimes we call that infinite solutions. So those are the two terms that you might see. The symbol for null set is a circle with a line through it, meaning there's no solution. And then we also have something called an empty set, which is just two empty brackets. Okay, so both of those are used when we have a null set. So now we are going to go down and look at this word problem, or this application that we might have, and how we could use equations. So Coach Everly wants to order uniform shirts for all of her players, P, on the women's lacrosse team. Each shirt costs $20. There's an additional cost, D, for a player to put her name on the shirt. Using the steps below to write the equation to find the total cost, C, if every player on the team orders a shirt with her name on it. So step one says we need to circle the variables above and underline what they represent. So the first variable that we have is P, which represents the players. The second variable is D, which represents the additional cost. And the third variable is C, which is the total cost. Now we're going to go to number 2, and we're going to write an expression that represents the cost of one shirt with the player's name on it. Okay, so we know that the cost of the t-shirt is $20 plus the additional cost of putting their name. So that's one t-shirt cost plus their name. Step 3 says use the expression to write an equation to be used to find the total cost of every player on the team with their name on their shirt. So in the parentheses, we know that one shirt costs 20 plus D. And then the second part is how many players there are. So that's the variable P. So P times, the parentheses being multiplied, 20 plus D equals the total cost. So the number of players times the cost plus the cost of the name equals the total. I need to move my page down so that we can write the final steps. All right, so for number 4, let me go back and write this. We had P 20D equals C. So suppose that the total cost for 15 players cost $420. Write an equation to show the total cost of the shirts for all the players to put their name on the shirt. So players was the variable P, and the total cost was the variable C. So we're going to use this equation and substitute 15 and 420. So P represents 15 players, so I'm going to say 15 instead of the variable P. I still have $20 plus D, and the total cost is 420. So there's my equation. At this point, we're not going to solve the equation, but we have gone from a real-world situation and written an equation to help us find that total cost. If you'll flip over to the next page, please. So we are going to solve multi-step equations that contain expressions using the grouping symbol. To solve these equations, you have to expand the grouping using the distributive property. So we're going to use the distributive property when solving these equations. Then collect like terms as needed and solve the equation using properties of equality. So we're going to group things together using the distributive property, then we combine like terms, then we solve the equation. So if we look at this first example, we have 15 times, parentheses means multiply, 20 plus D equals 420. So because that means multiplication, parentheses mean multiplication, We are multiplying 15 times everything that's inside the parentheses. So 15 times 20 is 300, and 15 times d is 15d. We multiplied the multiplier on the outside times everything that's inside the parentheses. We did not do anything to the 420 because it was not inside the parentheses. Now we're going to solve this two-step equation like we've done before. We're going to use the subtraction property of equality and subtract 300 from both sides. This was a positive 300, so I have to do the inverse and subtract 300 from both sides, bringing down 15d. Now I have 420 minus 300, which is 120. Then I have to divide by 15, because that's an inverse operation. 15d means to multiply, so the inverse is dividing by 15. We want to divide it up among the 15 players, and that means d equals 8. So what does that 8 represent for our problem? 8 is the cost of the design to add your name to the t-shirt. So it costs $8 to add your name. Let's go ahead and try the got it problems using the distributive property. Then you need to solve the equation. Pause the video now and do A and B. For A, you should get negative 20, and for B, you should get 12. Again, we're going to use the distributive property. So negative 3 times 9 is a negative 27. Negative 3 times x is a negative 3x equals 33. Now solve your two-step equation. We're going to add 27 to both sides. So that gives us 60 equals negative 3x. Sorry, it's hard to see the colors there. Then we divide by negative 3. So 60 divided by negative 3 gives us our negative 20. For B, you distribute the 5 inside the parentheses. So that gives us 5a minus 5 times a negative 7 gives us a negative 35 equals 25. Now we solve the two-step equation by adding 35 to both sides. Again, that's going to give us 60 equals 5a, and finally we divide by 5 so that a equals 12. Moving on to the bottom portion of this page, we have our vocabulary that we already talked about. A null set means there's no solution. So if we have a problem that comes out like this, where a equals b. So if we have this equation, 3x plus 4 equals 3x. Because there's a 3x on both sides, the 3x cancel each other out, leaving you with 4 equal to 0. Well, 4 is not equal to 0. That is a false statement. So this means there is no solution. You also have the option of having one solution. So that is where x equals a number. So in this equation, 2x equals 20, we had to divide by 2, and we got x equals 10. That means the only solution is 10, so that's a one solution answer. Then we have the identity, which means there's infinitely many solutions. So a equals a, the same number. So if we have 4x plus 2 equals 4x plus 2, because there's a 4x on both sides, they cancel each other out, and we're left with 2 equals to 2. Well, 2 does equal 2. That is a true statement. So that means that there are an infinite amount of solutions, or all solutions. So a null set means there is no solution. The two numbers are not equal. And identity means that there's an infinite number of solutions, and the two numbers are equal, or you get the variable equal to a number. Those are your three possibilities when solving an equation. Go ahead and flip to the other side, please. All right, so if we look at this problem, it looks very complicated, but let's make sure that we solve the problems in the correct order. So just like order of operations, we have to get rid of our parentheses first on both sides of the equation. So first, let's just look at the left-hand side, and we are going to distribute 6 to the values inside the parentheses only. So 6 times x is 6x. 6 times a negative 3 is a negative 18. And we just bring down the plus 10. Now we need to look at the right-hand side, and we're going to distribute the 2 inside of the parentheses on the right-hand side, excuse me. 2 times 3x is 6x. 2 times a negative 4 is a negative 8. Now we need to look to see if we need to combine like terms. So first thing we did was distributive property. The second thing we did is combine like terms. Distributive property, combine like terms. So I need to look on the left-hand side only to see if there are any like terms. We do not change the sign, we just do perform those same operations. So I have a negative 18 plus 10 gives me a negative 8. Bring down the 6x. Now, look on the right-hand side. Are there any like terms to combine? No. So we just bring down the 6x, bring down the minus 8. Now I'm going to use the addition property of equality to get the constants together. You could move the constants or you could move the variables first. It does not matter. So I'm going to take my negative 8 and I'm going to do the inverse operation and add 8 to both sides, leaving me with 6x equals 6x. That should clue you in that it is the same answer. So then we're going to use the division property of equality and divide by 6 so that we get x equals to x. Because they are the same value, that means there are infinite solutions. Because x is always going to equal x, meaning all real numbers, infinite solutions. You can always check your answer by plugging it in. All right, so number 3, we are going to solve the same way using the distributive property on the left, then using the distributive property on the right. So 8 times 4 is 32. 8 times negative 2 is a negative 16x. Now we look on the right. 4 times 3 is 12, and 4 times a negative 5x is a negative 20x. Bring down the 4x. Go back to the left-hand side. Are there any like terms to combine? No, so we just bring it down. Moving to the right, are there any like terms to combine? Yes. Negative 20x plus 4x is a negative 16x. Now we want to get our variables on the same side by using the addition property of equality. So we're adding 16 to both sides, and the 16's x cancels out. So we end up with 32 equals to 12. That is not true. So there is no solution for this problem. Nothing will ever solve that equation. Go ahead and solve C and D on your own. Remember to work left and right before going across the equal sign. Pause the video now. For C, you should get identity, or all real numbers. For D, you should get null set, because there is no solution. Go ahead to flip to the next page. And finally, we have another word problem. At the fair, Hunter bought 3 snacks and 10 ride tickets. Each ride cost $1.50 less than the snacks. If he spent a total of $24, what is the cost of each snack? So we have the equation where we know that the snacks cost $3. So 3s represents the snacks. We know that he bought 10 ride tickets and that the ride tickets were $1.50 less than the snacks. So snacks minus $1.50 is the ride ticket, and he bought 10 of them, and a total of $24. So we're going to use the distributive property and distribute 10 times s and 10 times 1.5 so that we get 10s minus 15. Combine your like terms. So we have 3s plus 10s is 13s minus 15. Bring down the 24. So we have not done anything to the right-hand side. Now we cross the line, so we're going to use properties of equality, and we're going to add 15 to both sides. 24 plus 15 is 39. Then we use the inverse operation of multiplying by 13, so we're going to divide by 13, and we get s equals 3. So that means each snack costs $3. Go ahead and complete the guided practice 1 through 5. And on page 313, I want you to complete the even numbers. So I want you to complete guided practice 1 through 5 and page 313, numbers 2, 4, 6, 8, and 10. Thank you for watching.